Let high school students graduate in 2 years instead of 4. A growing number of state governments are doing it to get high-achieving kids into college sooner. But should all states do it to bring taxpayer costs lower? Well, hello, everybody. I'm Cheryl Casone. Welcome to Cashin In. Our Cashin In crew this week, we have Jonathan Honig, Tracy Byrnes, Todd Schoenberger's here, Jim LeCamp is here. And joining us this week, we have Sally Cohn. So welcome to all of you. Jim, I'm going to start with you. Why do you like this 2-year plan for high school kids? What do you like about it?
Look, everybody pays these taxes, whether they own a home or not, whether they have children or not. Everybody pays for education, and every year they get worse education and it costs more. So we've really dumbed down our school program to rush kids through the system. Why not do it the other way? Why not let the achieving kids rush through the system and get away from this burgeoning idiocracy? Beyond that, I think that we're spending money on things that aren't being productive for our economy. So let these achieving students, send them the message that if you achieve, you will be rewarded. But the idea we're going to get any of this taxpayer money back is kind of a mirage. Taxpayers never get any money back. It'll just move on to the next boondoggle. But I do think it's a good idea.
Well, half of property taxes actually, do go to schools, to be fair here. But Tracy, and I'm going to get to the money issue, but Tracy, the kids issue, you can get them out of your house 2 years earlier. What do you think about that?
You know what? The money issue to me is very separate from the academic developmental issue, because I don't think these kids should be rushed through school, and I do think there's a reason they need these years to develop as people. But when you do look at the dollars and cents, I mean, there are a lot of people that live in towns that don't even have kids in the school system, and close to 50% of their taxes are going to the schools that are not spending the money properly. If you can get a kid that can take advantage of every dollar that is given to them, and they can get through the system and take advantage, why not?
You know what, Sally Cohn, at the same time, taxpayers are saying why not on the other end of the spectrum, because it's not just property taxes you're seeing going to schools, but also look at all the fights we've had about teacher pensions and teacher salaries and things like that. I mean, all of that factors into the thinking, get more kids out of school faster, save some money.
Yeah, but, as taxpayers, we pay for a lot of things because we think they're in the general interest and not just in our own self-interest. And public education is obviously number one on that list. Look, we could let these kids graduate 2 years early. We could give them all guns and they could go patrol the streets, and we could fire police officers, and that would also save taxpayers money.
That's a great idea.
It doesn't mean it's a good idea, right? Obviously, it would be nice if instead of just talking about how we can keep cutting public services that help middle-class families, we would actually talk about millionaires and billionaires paying the same tax rate as the middle class. Well, maybe then we wouldn't have to make these cuts.
But they do.
Jonathan, we're talking about billions of dollars, though.
Yeah, billions of dollars and accelerating kids, smart kids who are probably wasting their time in the public schools. I got to tell you, I agree with Jim. I think the less time kids spend in the public schools, on average, probably the better, especially the gifted ones. I mean, hold them back. Grade skipping used to be very common in this country. In the 70s and 80s, this whole egalitarian philosophy that said you got to cut down the tall poppies. And in fact, the government monopoly that we have in this country incentivizes kids to stay longer. We have these peer-to-peer learning, this whole idea of kids boosting test scores, so it makes the teachers look better. Let gifted kids move on and save taxpayers money in the process.
But Todd, wouldn't you rather have some kids, if they're smart enough, willing enough to get out in 2 years, you could actually keep programs that have been under threat, like GYM, like home economics. I mean, these are programs that some states have talked about cutting for high schoolers. This is a way to maybe save those classes.
Perhaps, Cheryl. But look, I think you guys are being very naive, because you're actually assuming that you're going to have so many kids that are going to be in this accelerated program. Look, it's not a linear number. So in other words, you don't just say in 2 years, this is it, and they're done. You're going to have a big percentage of kids that still have to be there for 4 years. It's a revolving number. Plus, you're going to have some that are held back. And what do you do with all these kids that are out of school already? You don't even have the jobs that are there for them anyway. Look, you're going to see property taxes go through the roof because the counties are going to have to hire more people to babysit all the kids, and you just graduated.
Well, the thinking is, Sally, the thinking, Sally, is they would actually go off to college, even if it was a community college. Or they could stay an extra couple of years, get even smarter. There could be some serious benefits.
Look, if we're separating out the educational benefits of this, I was a product of public schools. I like public schools. I believe in public schools. And kids who are doing well in public schools, who are ready academically and emotionally to go on to college, good for them. We should encourage that. But to do it out of the argument, not of their educational advancement and best interest, but because of some notions that it'll save people money, and therefore creates this incentive that it could shortchange.
No, but here's the thing, and I think Jim made the best point thus far. You're not going to see that money back. I mean, just because we let these kids out 2 years earlier does not mean your property taxes are going to go down. The states are going to find a way to waste money in a different area. What we have to do is focus on our educational system. Not every kid is as lucky as mine to be in an awesome public school system like mine are. There are so many ailing public school systems. Most are not.
Most aren't.
So maybe we take the money, maybe there's a better way to do this other than rushing them out the door 2 years early.
But Jim, let me go back to you.
Wait a
Hold on
minute,
a
they're
second,
not
Jim.
rushing people out the
Jim,
door
you're a
here.
money guy. Jim, you're a money guy. Look, okay, if states are on notice. They're on big time notice that they've got huge budget deficits. They're trying to find ways to cut. I mean, why wouldn't this help the bottom line of some states? Most of this example is happening in Arizona, for example, where property taxes are next to nothing anymore because there's no housing market anymore. Why wouldn't this be a good thing?
It is a good thing. I haven't heard one single good argument why not to do this. First of all, you're not rushing kids through. You're allowing them to rush through if they so desire. That's what this is all supposed to be about. Kids that can advance should advance if they want to. And if it saves money, all the better. Why not save money where you can if it's improving the lots of kids that want to achieve? We should reward achievement in this country, and this is a good way to
Nobody's
start.
saying that you shouldn't be doing that, Jim. But where's
Todd Schoenberger, go ahead. Let Todd Schoenberger go.
Look, Jim, that's great. Nobody's saying that we want to destroy success. We get that. However, you have to assume that with property taxes, you still have population growth. To think that property taxes would actually drop because you actually subtract 2 years from a high school education.
I agree with you. They're not going to drop.
No, but that's impossible to happen.
But that's not. Guys, hold on a second, guys. That's not quite the. Jonathan, I'm coming to you, but that's not quite the argument I was making here. The argument is this is one example of a way for states to save money. I'm not saying it's going to bring down everybody's property taxes, but it's one example of righting the wrong that is state budgets.
And maybe it leaves behind more money for those kids at school that need the attention. Maybe you just keep the money in the school system and put it where it needs the attention. Let those kids that don't need the attention achieve and move on.
Jonathan?
Yeah, if you really wanted to help the kids and the taxpayers, you'd privatize the school system. But of course, that's never going to happen.
Amen, brother.
The truth is
for anyone wondering the true agenda, there it was, right there. They don't want to fix public schools; they want to destroy them. Just right there, you heard it.
Absolutely, because you've got $600 billion, Sally, in state and federal funds that, as the panel has pointed out, seems to get flushed down the toilet year after year after year. Accelerated kids have always performed better in social and academic outcomes.
And let's talk about
the
state of New Jersey for a second there, Jonathan.
Tracy,
You've got passing grades right now down to 60. 60% to pass to be advanced. What's the criteria for these kids? What, a 60 and then you advance them after 2 years? Give me a break. It's impossible. Nothing good about it.
Tracy, you got to respond.
But that's the thing, and that is my worry, that this notion that we're going to, okay, fine, I get Jim's point, celebrate success, but there's also going to be someone looking at the bottom line saying, hey, we got to get more kids out because we don't have the money, so push these kids through too. As it is, we're falling behind in math and science throughout the world. I'm not sure this is the right way to do it, but the states are broke. I get that. I'm just not sure we shoulder our children with the burden.
All right, Jim, you kick this off. I'm going to give you a last word before we go to break.
Well, this will do two things. These are not mutually exclusive. It'll save monies that can be saved. It'll push kids through the system that should be pushed through the system. And it will, even if you aren't going to divert that money elsewhere, it will leave more money to give those kids that need the attention more help.